Hey guys, it's STVW, and today I'm going to show you how I make Kingston with Mountblaq.
Yo guys, this is David from Mountblaq, and today I'll be going over the original idea, which started Kingston together with STVW that was later released on Reveal Recordings. I'll be going over some of the layering, some of the sounds, and some of the processing I did to come up with the original idea. So stay tuned.
Alright, so first of all I'm gonna show you how we made the kick in Kingston, and the first drop and the second drop, and in the trap part. So basically the kick consists of 4 layers, 1 top kick and punch, 1 mid-frequency layer, 1 crunch layer, which is more in the high frequencies, and 1 sub layer. So the top kick is a kick I used in my collaboration with Sebastian Matteo. So it's already been processed and I haven't done much processing to it. It sounds like this. The only thing I did here is some basic EQing. I cut out some of the high frequencies to get rid of the click, because, or some parts of the click, because I felt like the click is a bit too extreme for this track in the mixdown. So I did some slight EQing here, and I also cut out some of the low frequencies in the punch, because I felt like the punch is a bit too extreme and doesn't work really well with the sub layer I used. So rather than just boosting the frequencies to get a better bass, I cut out the punch here on the kick, which immediately makes the bass, the sub bass, cut through more. So your kick sounds much more extreme and way more bigger than if you would boost this. Okay, next I'm going to show you how we made the drums for the drop. Basically the drums are a lot of layers. Most of them made David from Mountblaq. So the first one is this. As you can hear, it's not just playing straight percussions, but it's playing a melody, which really helped to get the groove going in the drop and really helped to, make the lead sound a bit more interesting. There's nothing crazy going on the channel, just some basic EQing, cut out the lows. The second layer is this one. So this is a more higher layer, more punchy, aggressive layer. Also just cut out the low frequencies here. Then the third layer is this one. This is a more punchy layer, has a bit more mid frequencies. I also cut out the lows here. And then I added some of my percussion layers to make it sound a bit bigger. And this one. So the last one gives a really nice punch in the mid frequencies, and we group this to main perks. Then let's jump into the breakdown of Kingston. Since this is a really reggae bass and influence breakdown, we tried to create this vibe with some reggae piano chords and reggae guitar chords, of course. So we used Nexus for this. The first sound is a reggae piano. I did some processing here. I put a really subtle fab filter set for saturation on it, some chorus, EQing, and the flanger, and just an auto filter to filter it in at the beginning of the break. Then the second layer is a guitar piano chord kind of thing. So it's a really typical reggae guitar sound, and we also added a reggae guitar sample layer on top because this has a bit more groove to it and it fits really well together. So together the three sounds sound like this. Then on top of that we added a brass. And some tension strings.
I'll be slowly explaining the leads on how we came up with the original idea, which I first sent to Steve, and I'll just go a little bit about how I did the layering and some of the processing. So this is the original idea. So I'll go over some of the sounds and how it came about. So this project's pretty old. There's a lot of layers. I normally wouldn't go about making the leads nowadays this way, but for this track it worked. We'll start with the first layer. Okay, so we got the sample shot, pretty much just then we have
And let me show you the last part. It's the build-up. The build-up consists out of a few risers, few effects, and of course the snares. Let me show you the snares first, what I did here. The snares are 3 layers, the main snare build. The first one is this. So this is a layer I made with the hip-hop snare just to give it a bit more a rolling kind of effect and a bit more energy to the build. The second one and the third one are basic build snares. But as you can hear, they sound a bit boring if you play them alone, so with the rolling snare layer it sounds like this. And what's also interesting, the same trick that I used on the hi-hats and the drop for the trap part, I used different volumes here on the snare to give it a bit more bounce and make it sound not too static. So that's also a good tip. Always try to make things interesting and a bit more real sounding than just putting every snare on the same volume. So there's no EQing really going on, just cut out all the lows on every channel. Alright, then let me show you the master chain I used for Kingston. So these are all the plugins I use on the master, and I basically use all the same stuff on every song I make. So just EQ, stereo imaging, bus compression and the limiter, and some effects like endless smile for the build-up. But let's have a look at the EQ. So the first EQ, I cut out the very high frequencies above 1900 Hertz, and I did a small dip around 300 because, as I said, this is the area where it gets really muddy, and I just felt like a small dip here is needed to make it sound more clean. Then I added this isotope imager. I made all the sounds below 110 Hz mono, and I added some stereo widening to the high frequencies. Then I added an SSL bus compression. It's the G Master bus compressor from Waves. It's a really good one, and I used it to glue the whole track together and also to increase the volume before it runs through the limiter. Then I used another EQ because I felt like there are still too much harsh frequencies, and